This is the A. I'm Reg Clay.
And Norman G.
This is the A, where we talk about life in the theater and the theater of life.
Yay!
As always, we are sponsored by Central Works, a new play theater headed up by Gary Graves and Jan Fleifler. Central Works, reinventing theater one play at a time. And we want to thank Central Works for sponsoring the Yay and our wonderful. I still don't know what her title is. I
thought we came up with it.
Yeah, but Mallory Samara has been helping us.
Consultant producer.
So we want to thank Mallory for helping us out, for consulting and helping us produce the A to make it even better. And we have a wonderful guest, Erin Merritt. Erin, how are you today?
I'm doing great. It's so nice to be here with you.
Yeah, and look at that beautiful backyard that you have there. You are the creator of Neighborhood Stories, an array of short live performances that unfold all across a given city or neighborhood, created by artists who live in the neighborhood to evoke the heartbeat of that neighborhood. And you were also the former creator of Women's Will. So you've been doing a lot of creative theater. And we'll learn
for a long time.
Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
I'm old. I'm really old.
Well, that's, hey, all of us are getting up there, but no, you've done some fantastic work and are doing fantastic work. As I begin every podcast, Norman, how's your week?
Man, I'm done with this hybrid business. Can we be done? Can we please? I'm rushing back from the College of Marin. I worked last night here doing a Zoom thing. I'm tired. And now herding people together for a meeting, it used to be you'd say, well, we don't all have to get together, so can we just find a time on Zoom? No.
Yeah, no. But, you know, hey, we're colored. I think all of us, and there's one county that's not colored yellow, it's orange. So the number's coming down. So I'm encouraged. And, you know,
I am with that. Oh, the other neat thing in my so positive thing in my neighborhood is we have new neighbors. And they are experiencing a street like we've never seen. Our side street has been just pothills. Like if you drive up it, you drive in the middle and you're still dodging potholes. And we all know that. So you just you make space for people. It's all perfectly paved. So these new people moved in and I'm like, oh, they don't know. This beautiful new street is new, like 20 years in the making. And then there was a shooting last week.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. In fact, I had to apologize to my kids. I do a Tuesday, Thursday class, and I went in on Thursday and I said, I just need to give you guys a heads up that right before I came here on Tuesday, I didn't even know anybody had gotten shot. There was shooting. I knew that. And a car went speeding by and a guy went running by. And it turns out they were trying to rob a van. And the guy came out and claims they shot at him. And he just emptied, oh, gosh, almost 24 bullets into the atmosphere.
Did anyone die?
Yep.
Oh, God.
Yep. And so I went right from that. Like I was going to get in my car when that happened. And I stood on the street and saw a man with a gun in his hand in the middle of the street. And I'm like, I don't know what to do right now. Oh, so I just stood there until he kind of walked back to the sidewalk. And then my wife came out and I said, are you okay? And she was calling 911. So I was like, well, I'm going to go teach a class because theater right now, that's what I should be doing. So on Thursday, I went in and I said, I just need to let you know I was a little off and I'm still a little off because beautiful new street.
Yeah. No, I totally hear you. Erin, are things idyllic where you are? I mean,
idyllic.
How are you dealing with things, post or close to post COVID?
Yeah, I mean, remarkably well. I really am sort of surprised, but I have my moments of feeling just manic. And I'm talking to a lot of people today, and then I'll be out tomorrow running the route for Neighborhood Stories. And I find when I'm interacting with people, then I have a hard time kind of settling down after that. So it's going to be like we've all been really rewired during this time, and I think it's going to be a while before we can wire ourselves back or find out what the new wiring is. But I am really lucky that I live in this totally idyllic neighborhood that I stumbled onto. Like no artists, I never, we're working class poor people, right? Like, and I stumbled on this house, and I think this has really been a big part of my being able to save some sort of scrap of sanity during this period, because I have this deck I can come sit on. It's very calm out here. It feels it's up high, so like I can see that I'm connected to the city, but I also feel a little separated from the chaos of it. So that is
what county is it? Oakland, San Francisco? Where are you
Oh
at?
no, I'm in El Cerrito. I'm kind of top of the
Oh,
Nino.
very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I look straight onto the Richmond San Rafael Bridge and Mount Tam. So it's a shockingly beautiful view. But it does feel weird because I mean, growing up as an art, like I always knew I was going to be work in theater. So I just was like, age 5, I was like, I will be poor all my life, and I am, but it doesn't look like I am. So there's always kind of that like split reality going on for me. So I get to feel really lucky every day.
No, that's awesome, man. Everyone should feel that way. I mean, I feel that way being here in Jack London Square because I'm
Yeah.
right next to the water, so that's really really cool.
Oh, that's nice.
My
Yeah, the water is such a big deal when you're feeling stressed out. Just having some water to look on.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Are people hearing me? My
Yeah.
doesn't feel like my mic is okay. There it is. Zoom. Welcome to Zoom Life.
Oh, the other
go
thing I may as well mention is
Sure.
this is a new setup for me. I bought a new laptop. My other laptop was crapping out a couple of weeks ago, and
The
thankfully
camera,
my wife was like, just get the new thing, because if you wait, you're going to lose everything you've got. And the transfer was amazing. I just basically hit a button. It said, do you want to transfer? I went click, and it went whoosh. It took a while, but it just
yeah.
everything is on the new laptop.
The camera is much better. I thought it was lighting, but maybe it's just the camera.
Yeah, well, no, it's because before the edges were all kind of fuzzy and shady, and I had, right before I dropped it a couple of weeks before that happened, and I had a light spike that hit right here.
Yeah, no, it's very very cool.
It's clean.
Yeah,
Yay.
always love it when I get a new laptop. I think I'm about to get one now because I'm having some battery issues with mine. But in any case, no, I always feel good when I get a new laptop. There have been a couple of current events. Well, I guess the main thing, at least for me, I've been following the Chauvin case, the Derek Chauvin case, pretty much all this week. And Erin, you and I were talking about it off mic. I've been very impressed with the prosecution. I have no idea what's going to happen, but I just get the vibe that things are going the way that it should. The medical examiner, he spoke yesterday basically saying that he felt it was a homicide. He felt that Chauvin, killed George Floyd. They did a very good job humanizing George Floyd. They've had witnesses that, that witnessed a murder, and they talked about how, the emotion that came through it. Also, there were cops, and it's something that we usually never see, who testified against their own, basically.
Right, the chief of police.
Yes. So that's encouraging. I really think there's a newer generation. This isn't the generation of jurors that, would have said, well, you shouldn't have done something bad. So this is what happens. This is a newer generation. It's like, no, we're not going to do the same thing that we did with Rodney.
So many.
And many others. So that's very encouraging. I mean, that's how I felt. Did you have any thoughts about that, Norman?
I can't. I want them to be done because you lived through too many of these. You thought, oh my God, they had all the evidence in the world. Rodney King, there's videotape. Oh my God, they have to find them guilty. It just on and on and on. And I'm like, no, right now, literally, we have seen people murdered on videotape live. We've seen it live. And gosh, no, the cop was feared for his life. This dude sat there with his hand in his pocket, staring the crowd down.
Yeah.
I feared for my life, my ass.
Yeah, and in 2 minutes, 45 seconds after, he was still non-responsive. So, no, I think the prosecutor's doing a fantastic job. I can move on to other things, but Erin, did you have any thoughts about that?
Oh, just what we were saying before, that, I mean, I think you're absolutely right that the prosecution has gotten it spot on, and they're thorough, and they're covering everything. They're covering any possible objection. And so if there's not a conviction on, I don't know what they'll convict on, but if they don't convict on something pretty major, then it's going to be clear to a vast proportion of the population, and we're going to have some major backlash. And that makes sense to me.
Yeah, which is something we don't.
It feels like a tipping point in a way that some of the other things haven't. I don't know why this one feels so different, but it really does feel like a tipping point.
Yeah. I really think it's the power of the phone. I really think that, having so many individuals, just recording things, and it's like, I don't want to say interactive, but you feel like you're a part of justice, that, you can actually change things just by, having that camera and just, pointing it to say, listen, we're going to be a witness to what's going on. And, it's powerful evidence. And, you get powerful testimony, and you have the whole world watching. So I just feel that things are going to be different. A lot of people are pessimistic, but I feel optimistic. I think, there's going to be some sort of a conviction.
Yeah.
So there's
Fingers
that.
crossed.
Yeah. There's also Matt Gaetz. I mean, this is crazy. This is, I know it's, you got to laugh to keep from crying. I mean, geez, using Apple. I mean, if you're going to buy, let's, there's.
Don't buy your prostitutes on, on something that is has a trail.
Exactly. PayPal, and it's not PayPal. It was
Venmo.
Cash App,
Venmo,
and Venmo, and the Apple Pay. But also, she's underage, traveling across state lines, and using taxpayer money. I mean,
I love that
pick
the
your felony.
Republicans are going to have to fight against this. Isn't this notion of taking someone across state lines, isn't that outdated and ridiculous? Yeah, when it's one of you, suddenly it's outdated and ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, they created that whole thing to get Chuck Berry. Remember, Chuck Berry had, they wanted to.
Oh, I didn't know what was because they got Jack Johnson, the boxer.
Oh,
they got
right.
him
That was
that.
even before then. Yeah.
Yeah. That's like 1910 or something.
Yeah. Using it against, black people, interracially dating. But of course, they talk about across state lines or whatever. But yeah, Matt Gaetz. I mean, and I don't see the Republicans rallying around him as much. So hopefully, go ahead.
Not rallying around them, but one has come. Oh no, I think two congressmen have come out and said he needs to step down. I'm like, thank you.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see if this alt-right revolution is breaking down now that people are pushing away from Trump. So we'll see. And I usually throw in a fun thing, Little Nas X, and he's a rapper. I don't know if you heard. He's like a country rapper. He's like a black country rapper.
Yes, country rap. Gay country rap.
That's exactly right. And so he got into an issue with
Nike. Gay black country rap.
Exactly. Totally of the newer generation. Totally a millennial who is in control of his identity and all that sort of stuff. And I guess he put out a album. I mean, so there was the Nike shoe that he put out that had real blood in it.
Just one drop.
Yeah, which they pulled. But also
they didn't pull. I think they sold out those shoes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they only made 600 something of them.
666.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
666.
Yeah.
They had sold them out when Nike said cease and desist. And I really think we can just wait, but I'm fairly certain that there's going to be a Little Nas signature shoe coming out.
I'm surprised
from
Erin,
Nike.
You're pretty hip, Erin, to know all of this stuff. I had to read it on.
I love Mischief, and I don't mean. And actually, I think this shoe company is actually called Mischief, and that's not what I mean. But
that's right. Yes,
I love artists who are just messing with people, and I have been kind of following. Also, I do have teenagers, so
that helps. That totally helps.
But also, I was telling Mara, I as soon as it came up, I was like, "Oh, you haven't seen the video? No, you have." And I don't mean the controversial video. I mean the first one, because it's the whole video is like starts with Chris Rock, bunch of guys on horses chasing, and he disappears and then lands in this music video, the Lil Nas X character. And I kept waiting for the joke because I'm like, there's a black guy. He looks like a young black guy. And he's kind of rapping, but he's also very much giving us this sort of Texas feel. And he's riding along through our world on a horse. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? I have no idea what this is. I watched it over and over, just trying to make sense of it. And then I heard that it blew up and, Billboard and... I'm like, that's where we are. We are in this world where we are owning stuff that nobody wants to give us.
Yeah. But he's also making a statement about, he's gay, and he's making a statement about individuals who think that he's going to hell. He's like, okay, if I'm going to go to hell, then I'm going to own it, and I'm going to, and
Well,
maybe
the
yes.
first video, he wasn't out. He came out after he was getting awards for his first thing. So they didn't even know he was gay.
Right.
Just black man being country. Okay. Oh, rap.
Yeah, I think you're talking about Old Town Road, and that was a big hit. But the second one, he's really just overtly basically saying, "Listen, you religious zealots who are judging me for who I am, I'm going to throw it back in your face." I mean, it's really bold, and it's interesting. It's one of these cultural tug of war things, and but he's truly expressing himself, and
it's fun.
Yeah, now it's fascinating. All righty. With all that, let's get into an origin story, Miss Merritt. How'd you get involved in theater? Where were you born and raised?
Oh, well, I was born in Oregon, but I was mostly I've been raised in California. I was just born at the end of my dad's grad school. So I kind of consider myself a dual native of Northern and Southern California. I lived in Southern California as a small child and then moved to the Bay Area when I was 10, I think.
Where were you guys in Southern Cal?
Pasedena.
Yep. Nice.
Yep. And then I actually lived in Pasadena again for 3 years as an adult too. That's a whole other non-theater story, but yeah. So I feel equally comfortable both places, but I love the Bay Area theater community so much that I really made a concerted decision as an adult that this is where I was going to make my work, if at all possible. So I consider myself, I'm a Bay Area person with maybe a little of the forthrightness of an LA person.
Yeah. Did you get involved in theater when you were young, like in high school and all that stuff?
Yeah. Actually, I was older than I wanted to be. I kept trying to. I saw my first show when I was 4 at the Asia Pacific Museum in Pasadena. Pacific. I can never remember which it is. And it was a guy, one actor doing that fisherman and the sea story. That's not it. That's Hemingway. Oh. The old man in the sea. Well, whatever it is, that's not the Hemingway. It's the fairy tale. And I thought, oh, this is a job adults can do. Well, okay, I've got my job. And so I think I was 4 or 5. I might have been 5. Because I know shortly thereafter I foisted a homemade puppet show on my kindergarten classmates, like it or not. So that was kind of when I made the decision. And then I tried to get my mother to let me go to auditions, and she was not down for that. So I had to wait until I was a teenager and then sign myself up for classes that she would take me to.
So you did the high school stuff?
I did the high school stuff, although it was mostly musicals, and I'm not really a singer. So I was playing bit roles. But I was already kind of chafing at the roles that the girls were getting. And my first professional audition was actually for, I think it was called Berkeley Stage Company.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, just so long ago. And they were doing Tom Sawyer, and I think they'd already cast Becky Thatcher, but I was like, well, can I audition anyway? Because you never know, you might want me for Tom.
All right.
And they were like, yeah, I guess so, kid. And then I'm sure I did a perfectly awful audition because I had no coaching or any guidance on what that might be. And in high school, we did Three Penny Opera, and they, you have the sign-up sheet that says, who do you want to play? And I was like, well, McKeith. I mean, who else would you want to play in that show, right? And they did laugh at me. I mean, it was like, why are you laughing? You asked. I mean, if you didn't want to know,
Yeah, why not a Lady Mac the Knife? Why not?
No, I mean, I would have played him as a guy. I think he is a man. Like, there's very gendered about the way that character is. And that is part of what makes that show so wonderful, because Polly, who's playing the, typical, oh gosh, I don't know what I'm getting myself into, I don't know I'm marrying a gangster character, ends up actually, once he goes to jail, taking it over and running it way better than he ever did. And like, that's a really interesting commentary in that show. So I don't think you want to turn that character into a woman. And I didn't intend to play him as a woman. But I did not.
They didn't give it to you?
They did not.
Mm.
They went, actually, it was Aaron Davidman. I don't know if you guys know him.
Oh yeah, of course.
Aaron Davidman played that role. Deb Fink was in that. She was the street singer. My high school,
Damn.
a lot of people who are still making theater in the Bay Area. No, I played a
Great.
beggar, and I said, I'll take this role if I can play it as a man. And they said, okay, sure. So that was my first male role on stage. I think I was 16, 15, something like that.
Nice. Where'd you go? Did you go to college?
Yeah, I went to Reed College in Portland, which is not known for its theater, although it maybe should be, because Anne Washburn came out of there, and Eric Overmyer, Lee Blessing came out of there. Who else would you know from there? Oh, I don't know if you guys know the Yes Men, but they're these amazing political pranksters that do this sort of national scale stuff.
Yeah,
Oh.
I have heard of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, one of them who's got a secret identity, so I won't name him, but he came out of the character known as Mike Bonanno was another one of my classmates. So we had not much of a theater department there. It was really tiny. I think it graduated 4 people a year when we started, and we decided there wasn't enough going on there. We made a whole bunch of we created an open performance forum called Midnight Theater that performed once a month at midnight. It was kind of a vaudeville, like anyone could come and bring an act. The artist now known as Mike Bonanno created his what ended up being Yes Man. He was doing that kind of work then, he got funding for something, and then I said, how did you fund that? And he said, oh, I went, this is what I did. And, everybody there was just very collaborative. So it wasn't a competition kind of situation where people would try to hide information from you. And so he was like, oh, I got money by asking this person about this. And so I went to my theater department and said, I want money to do a show before my thesis show as practice. And they were like, we don't have any money. So I was like, okay, well, and I went to the department he went to and got money, and then went back to my theater department and said, they're giving me money. What's wrong with you guys? So then they're like, okay, we'll give you some money. So we kind of helped each other figure out how you make work that matters to you when it's not happening on its own. So we were not going to wait for gatekeepers to make things happen. We were going to figure out how to make it happen. And really instilled in me that sense of art making as something that's not about competing with each other, but is about helping each other, each create your best. And the notion of, if you can create that, then I probably can too. And let's teach each other how to do that. And that I've carried with me ever since. And it's the way I look at theater and creating art. So I guess even though it wasn't a theater school, it's pretty foundational.
Yeah. No, it strikes me just listening to you. I mean, your experience at the college, and also, just you creating Women's Will, and, we'll talk about that. But it sounds like you're the type of individual that doesn't just think of theater as being on stage and performing, but also something you create, like you getting behind the stage, or you financing it. And it sounds like, you had a philosophy of theater being something that you don't, that is all consuming, that that you created from the beginning, middle, and end, from an administrative. I mean, am I getting that right? I mean,
yeah, I mean, I'm definitely a systems person. I would love for people to hire me to just direct and only have to do that. Like, so people should feel free to talk to me about just directing. But it is true that I look at theater actually even more than you're saying as a toe to tails kind of thing, but as an environmental thing. Like, this is really it's not an accident that I do a lot of outdoor and site specific work, but it's I do not believe that theater or any art exists to entertain people. That is, the entertainment that we provide is a byproduct of us doing really good work that matters about something. So I do a lot of teaching, and I'm like, there are 3 components to theater. You have people who are members of a community talking about something that matters to that community, to other members of that community, the audience. And if you don't have all 3 of those things, you don't have theater. So I'm really always about, it's not about picking a play that I think is fun. It's about what is going on in the world right now, either where we are physically or time-wise, or what is about to happen that we need to be paying attention to. That's the work that I'm really interested in, and what makes it urgent. And urgency can show up in all sorts of different ways. I mean, comedies can be absolutely urgent, just as much as dramas can. And so that's what I'm looking at always with Woman's Will, with Neighborhood Stories. Those both came out of that same impetus of where are we, what is missing, what do we need, and how do we do that? Or what are we being told no about, and how can we get to a yes on that?
Yeah, that's awesome. I was just writing down. I love that, those three philosophies, the three things that make theater, the people that are on the stage, the what's being discussed, the actual script, the work, and the audience, and that the conversation, the interaction between the two, and even the three. I mean, do you also work with living playwrights? I mean, do you?
Yes, I love working with, so Woman's Will, maybe.
Yeah, let's talk about Woman's Will.
Like, give people the context of Woman's Will, so when I mention it, you know what. So Woman's Will was an all-female Shakespeare company back before people were using the term non-binary,
Right.
and it existed, and we did actually work with men as well, and we worked with performers who came out as trans later, but that arose out of a really natural, distressing situation, which was that I was doing a lot of auditions. I was mostly acting then, although I had been cross-trained as a director. But it was easier for me to know how to start an acting career. So I was acting and going to audition after audition after audition, mostly for Shakespeare pieces, which of course were written for men.
Which is how we met, actually.
Yeah, exactly. I was telling him you played Puck and I was your understudy. So we shared a costume.
I never thought of it that way. That's funny.
Yeah, we shared a costume. And because Shakespeare was writing for men and then for boys to play the women's roles are very short. And it's not that they're bad, they're actually great. But they kind of come on and have a big, showy thing and then disappear for a lot of the show. And they're often positioned as somebody's wife to be, or somebody's wife, or somebody's mom, or
right,
whatever. I really do want to stand up for Shakespeare. I think given the time and place he was writing in, he wrote amazing roles for women that are still some of the best roles for women. But he wasn't really writing them for women. So when you're casting a play by Shakespeare, you're looking for probably 15 men and maybe 3 women. It's going to be harder for you to find enough men. So people tend to default to trying to get all the men cast first. And then they go, okay, what woman would look good with that man? Instead of going, what woman is the person who we want to carry that role?
Right.
And it's subconscious. People don't notice that they're doing it, but you'll notice that like the same woman would be cast over and over and over. They'd be like, oh, she works really well with that guy. Let's cast her against him again. And so it meant that there were all of these women who were incredibly well trained, who weren't getting the stage time that you need to really finish learning how to do Shakespeare, because it's not just about your training, it really is about practice. And who were sitting there psyching themselves and each other out in the audition room. And I thought that was just deeply, deeply unhealthy for their psyches. And I would sit there week after week and I'd look at this row of like 50, literally there was one audition where it was a callback and there were 50 women there. No, there were 55. 50 for the main roles and 5 for the little tiny. It was Merry Wives of Windsor. So five of us were up for Anne Page, which we don't really need to audition for. And I watched these women over and over, and I was like, probably 50 out of these 55 people are qualified to play these roles. So it's going to be random how it's cast. And not only that, but I'm impressed with these women and I want to work with them. I don't want to be competing against them. I want to be working with them. And I'm early in my career and I want to be learning from them instead of, when I would get cast in a show, I would learn from the men, and I don't have a problem with that, but I wanted to be learning with the women as well. And there's also just there's not the range of roles in Shakespeare where you get to start as a spirit carrier, work up to like 3 lines and then work up to a paragraph and then work up to up to the bigger roles. So it just was a very weird dynamic. And so I said, all right, if somebody just needs to give all these roles to women, for a while, and everybody said, I kept saying that, and everyone said, that's a great idea, you have to do it. And at a certain point I thought, if I don't do this and someone else does it and doesn't invite me, I'm going to be so mad. I'm just going to die of jealousy. So I guess I'll do it. And so I gathered a bunch of people. I didn't do it by myself. A bunch of people came and helped. And there were various people who helped but weren't company members, other people who were company members. And we just set about putting women at the forefront in on stage, off stage, design, directing, acting, and playing with what gender performance is. We didn't impersonate men; we just suggested maleness, and discovered that there's a ton of gender commentary in Shakespeare's play that you just don't normally see when it's a double gender, or when it's a traditionally cast show.
Mm-hmm.
So we found a bunch of interesting things in there, but our real goal was to give women big enough roles that the rest of the community would wake up to. Women can play these roles. Women should play these roles. There should be more roles for women, more leading roles for women being put up on stages, and that women should be getting to do a broader range of things in the roles that they're given. And then there was the almost silent, but we would always try to kind of sneak it in somewhere. And this should be the case for men as well. Men also should not be stuck in the stupid little tiny gender boxes that they're stuck in.
Mm-hmm.
So
how popular was Women's Will? Did you guys get,
Women's Will was around for a while.
Yeah, we were around for 14 years. I ran it for the first 12 of that. Yeah, and then I was kind of like, I want to work with new work. I miss doing new work. I really, really love working with playwrights. So,
but it sounds like, we were talking off mic how Women's Will, it's the very spirit of creating an environment for women to explore, what they can do on stage, and just explore the characters they can do, outside of the stereotypical cliches of, the damsel in distress, or, the stereotypical roles that usually male writers or producers will make for women. And it sounds like Women's Will sort of exploded that, and other companies are sort of catching on, not necessarily from Women's Will, but, we have social media. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think, yes. And it was, I don't want to underplay what it was for women to get to do those roles, because I think it was transformative for a number of people. But I would want them to speak to that more than I would. I only played a few of the roles. But it really wasn't an evangelical movement of, you need to pay attention to these women. And once somebody plays Richard III, you can't pretend that they can't play any other role in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So like Emily Jordan played Richard III for us, and she should have been getting bigger roles before that. And that made people pay attention and go, oh, well, and her career took a big upswing at that point. Rami Margran came through our show. Everybody had kind of figured out that Rami was an amazing actor, but in the typical binary that was going on then, people weren't totally sure where to put them. And, Rami getting to come in and play a male character made everybody go, oh, I get that this person is not, I'm not going to try to jam this person into an ingenue role. But I can put this person anywhere. They can play anything.
Mm-hmm.
Carla Pantoja came through us. She was just pretty early in her stage combat career. And she got to do a bunch of choreography. She got a bunch of experience that she was, these people were going to make it anyway. They didn't necessarily need Women's Will, but it was a place where they could really do what they do best and show that off. And I hope it kind of accelerated their careers or brought attention to them. Chloe Bronson, who runs Symmetry Theater, also came, was in a bunch of our shows. A number of people, Erin Carter. I'm missing lots of people, but it was really I think for the participants, it was about the experience that they were getting and the getting to not have to make themselves a little smaller for a role. But for me as the producer, it was really about, hey, the rest of you, you're missing out not using these people. Don't try to tell me that women, that you're not going to have good audiences if you put on something that's all women. We were always packed. People love, you say all women something and people go, where do I sign up? Right. So it was about kind of exploding a lot of BS that was coming from producers around, well, we can't hire women, or we can't program shows that have a bunch of women's roles, or we can't blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, you know what? 67% of your ticket buyers are women. You can certainly put women on stage.
Yeah.
Right.
And also not just women as, exploring roles as actors, but also directors. I mean, you also had women directors, not just you, right?
Oh, yeah, no. Leslie McCauley directed for us. Rebecca Novick directed for us. Mary Coleman, who was at Magic then, or she had just left Magic, was at Pixar, I think. I'm completely blanking, but yeah, a ton of women directed for us. Ginny Reed. Oh wow, I should have this list. I'm forgetting really important people.
Yeah, no, but that's okay. And you also
we'll invite them to add their names.
Yeah.
Yes, add your names. I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm just.
You had mentioned that you had worked with Dawn Monique Williams. We were talking about her, Mike, and she's done some excellent. So it sounds like Women's Will not only, created a sort of, I don't want to say playground, but an environment for women to take on different roles, but also for women directors. And imagine even in working in tech, we had who was the person that you brought on, Norman, who was she was the lighting designer.
Stephanie Johnson.
That's exactly right, Dr. Stephanie Johnson. And she talked about her role as a woman and just in lighting a stage. And just really just thinking from a woman's perspective and certain little things that you wouldn't ordinarily think about. And I'm sure that applies to directing as well. Do you get a chance to direct? I mean, now, with Neighborhood Stories, are you directing that?
I am directing a couple of the pieces in that. Yeah. I have had an interrupted career, which has been weird, and which is maybe a subject of a whole other.
It comes up.
That should be a podcast series in and of itself, because I had to move for family reasons for a few years. So just as I was leaving Women's Will, right when I should have converted that into directing for a bunch of other people, I had to leave town. And so I've come back now as a middle-aged person going, hey, hire me. And people are like, I don't remember your work, And so that's been hard. Honestly, emotionally hard and financially hard and just sad. It's sad because I feel like I have a ton to give. So, and people seem to remember my producing, but not so my directing. And then I directed the last three, directed and produced with Theater Bay Area the last 3 Theater Bay Area awards. But I think people don't notice that show is directed.
Right. If it goes well, they probably don't.
Yeah. So, and I'm not one of those. I am a director who likes to kind of disappear into the show. I'm really trying to. I'm trying to put forth, if it's a new play, the playwright's vision, not mine. I'm trying to put forth what I think is the truth of that show in this moment, and so I think I'm less obvious as a director, and I can identify what my directing is and what it feels like and what it looks like and how you can recognize my directing is in comparison to somebody else's, but every time I say that, people are like, oh, they just haven't thought about that. So I'm still trying to figure out how to position myself to other theater companies, and talk to them about why they should hire me and what I do and what it is that I specifically bring to that. And I found, weirdly, because I have no musical theater training, musical theater folks get my directing, and are really, really excited about it because, and I'll come in and I'll say, I don't know anything about the music, but then I'll be like, how the music, this is the rhythm that's going on right here. And they'll go, you heard that, So I think, as a director, I'm very, even though I don't have musical training, I am very rhythm focused. And so I tend to look at I tend to love working with actors who have physical training, but I tend to work with mostly text-based work. So I'm looking at how we can take these, especially encoded texts like Shakespeare or really dense verse I love, how we can turn that from something intellectual into something super visceral. How we make those words really just explode with all the power that they have. So that's kind of what I do. And if it's a musical, then I'm using the music to do that as well. But I work with rhythm. I think that's the
Yeah.
easy.
No, it's because we've had other individuals talk about, especially women who are coming back into theater. We've had Cecilia Palmtag, we've had Carolyn Doyle, and we've
Carolyn
had.
was another Women's Will performer.
Is that
Yep.
right?
She was
See,
actually there at the
small
founding.
world.
She was one of the people. She wasn't ever a company member, but she was one of the first people that when I said somebody ought to do this, she said, "You need to do that. I will help you however you need." And she gave me her mailing list. Her and her company and with Awen Mater, the two of them gave us the Signal Theater Company mailing list to start with.
Yay. I love
Awesome.
Signal
Yeah,
Theater. I
small.
remember
Yeah.
Signal
God bless the
Theater.
two of them. They're
Yeah.
really their
Yeah.
name never mentioned with Women's Will. And I think Carolyn was only in one or two of our shows, but they are critical in us founding just because they believed in us and helped us with something in that first show.
Yeah, it was wonderful having her on the podcast. And I've worked with Carolyn when EastEnders Repertory Company was around, and she and I have been on stage. I think she was my wife at one time. We did.
You can't remember who was your wife? Oh my God.
No, she was my wife at one time.
Okay,
I remember.
okay.
We did Fear and Misery in the Third Reich, but she was wonderful when she came on the podcast to talk about what it is being an older woman coming into the theater and how discriminatory it can be, especially if you're on stage. And even let's say as a director or whatever. Deb Carricker also talked about just coming back in and people are like, well, I don't remember who you are. And as an actor,
also worked with Women's Will.
See, small world. But as an actor, I can have my resume, even if it's, I don't know, 10 years or 15 years old. And there's a privilege of being a man coming back into the theater because, if I fit a particular type or whatever, just throw me on. But there is a sort of a discriminatory element with an older woman coming on, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, it's weird. We seem to become invisible when we're not, young and sexy anymore.
What's wrong with old and sexy?
I know. That's what I keep saying. What is wrong with old and sexy?
Yeah, we were talking about Dawn Monique Williams, and when you mentioned Invisible, there's a wonderful song she directed, "Women on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown."
Yeah.
And there's a wonderful song sung by I can't forget the actress, but she won a TBA award for singing Invisible, and it talked about being a middle-aged woman and life sort of passing her by. But I often wonder, how does a director get back into the industry? Because an actor can always do an audition, but how does a director audition themselves?
I wonder that too. So that is the mystery we're still trying to solve. I actually, I had to move around for a few years, and I was in Kansas City for a couple of years, and I thought, okay, I think I just have to. They hire a lot of actors to direct, so maybe I need to go back to acting. And I was lucky enough there to work with a couple of people who were actors who were supposed to direct something who didn't want to do it, and who were like, "You're actually a director. Can you just take this?" Which was great. But I wasn't there very long, and that was also kind of a weird theater scene. And so it was, as soon as I got a chance to move back here, I moved back here. But yeah, I haven't cracked that, because a lot of the ways that you get into directing are either starting your own company, right? Which I could do when I was 28 and my rent was $300, and it was just me, and I didn't even have a car, right? And with Women's Will, that Women's Will was started with $1,000 that I had saved. There's no way you could start a company with $1,000 now. Like, you can't. There's no way. So, I got a mentor when I moved back here who said, "Okay, here are the things you have to do. You have to go to the TSC conference." And I said, "Okay, cool. So who's going to watch my kids for that week while I'm gone? And who's going to pay the $1,000 that it costs to be there?" And, and the mentor was like, "Oh," because I was like, "I really do want to go to TSC. So just let me know how I do that, and I will be there for sure."
Yeah, and that's another thing that we've talked about. And luckily now there are theater companies that are attentive to women, especially women who have kids.
Yeah, and it's not just women. All of this, none of this is ever just women, right? Like,
sure,
any person that is not independently wealthy has this challenge. Any person who has kids has this challenge. it's not just women. It's just that all of them kind of come together in women,
Mhm.
or maybe we're just more like, come on, man, like throw me a bone here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Norman,
So
let me ask you this question before, because I do want to talk about neighborhood stories. But
yeah.
when you were coming back, I guess you never really left. I don't think there was a real break between you directing. But how do you audition yourselves? I mean, there are plenty of companies who know who you are. But let's
Yeah.
say a company that doesn't know who you are. How do you audition yourself, or how do you introduce yourself as a director?
Yeah,
I'm
I
sure you've
don't
got to
know.
go through that.
I think some people have good reels. I actually sent my stuff out to be put on a reel. I think it's at least 2 years ago, and I think it might be 3, and it's kind of never happened. Um,
But
I think the only thing I know to do is either doing my own work or doing a reading for somebody. So I have done
yeah,
readings a couple places. I sort of bugged people to make me, leave me room to do some sort of reading. I think I think I'm hoping that people coming to see not Women's Will.
neighborhood stories.
That's the old one.
Neighborhood stories.
Sorry, that one's hardwired in me from so long ago.
Of course, yeah.
Neighborhood stories. I hope they'll be able to see my directing. I hope people who were at the last 3 TBA awards can think back and go, "Oh yeah, that flowed well." I think Oh, there was thought into like how that was put together and the order of things and who the people were that were cast in it, even though it's not a play. And then I'm just sort of hoping that the people who do remember my directing will speak up for me. I know I have a lot of actors who remember my directing, and I've heard from many years that people really, really enjoy working with me as a director and feel like I'm honoring what they're bringing. I've worked with a number of playwrights who can speak to how attentive I am to their intent, and I think. Yeah, I just need a couple more people to, end up in artistic director positions, I guess.
Yeah.
Norman, how do you do it? How do you push yourself off as a director?
I wish I knew. No, it's so funny because Play Cafe has just asked me to do and we just set a date. It's, I don't know, June 6th or something, where I'm going to talk to playwrights about what do you do with your show once you've put it on the page? And I'm like, I was asked to do a question and answer, and I'm like, better idea, because I can't come in and say, here's what you do. I wish I could. I can say, these are things that I've done, or these are things that I've seen. And I really want to open it up to them and say, what have you tried? What works? What doesn't work? Let's keep everybody from wasting their time. There's a bunch of stuff you don't want to do. I don't know how many playwrights I've heard say, and established playwrights, not like not no name playwrights who've actually had their work done. One guy who actually had his piece in American Theater Monthly because it was such a successful play. And he talked to Berkeley Rep and they said, oh yeah, we'd really be excited to read what else you're working on. So he left a copy and that person left and the new person came and he got in touch with them and they said, oh yeah, well, sure, definitely would be interested in seeing. So he comes, can you bring us a copy? And he's like, yes. And he didn't say you should have it or anything like that. He brought it, sets it on the table. The next time they end up having a talk, he comes in and he looks at that same little desk or, counter space. The same play is sitting there untouched. And I'm like, and this is somebody who's established. So no, I don't know the answer to how you get your foot in the door. I can tell you places where I've been hired, but if they keep hiring you, like the people who get in at New Conservatory, for example, there are a few people who I know, at least one person who's been there for over a couple of decades. Yay for him. Regular, steady work, a wonderful range of stuff, major American playwright world premieres. What more could you ask for? But that's one position for one person. And that means I'm not getting that job. She's not getting that job.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think, playwrights, I think, they have it even harder than directors. It's really rough.
Yeah.
Really rough. And even when you intend to, because I've been that person who's intended to read that play. And by the way, I know who that playwright is that you're talking about. And I've been that person who have to like send me that play and I absolutely intend to read it. And then life gets in the way and I don't read it and I still have it. And I'm like, not that actual play. I've read that one. But yeah, unless you have a literary committee, like we're all underpaid. We're all this is a field that the economics of it don't work, and so it's
Right.
everyone's working as hard as they can and feeling underappreciated no matter what. And I don't see how you change that without a massive like reorganization of the United States.
Hopefully that's
funding. You know, like it just.
Hopefully we're in the middle of that.
Hopefully we're in the middle of that, because COVID, obviously there's the yings and yangs of COVID, because, Norman and I, we were talking about the Douglas Morrison Theater. I don't know if they're folding but, they let go of all of their staff.
They let go of their whole staff. Yeah.
Because of COVID. So, there are a lot of casualties, but also it may ease things economically. I mean, as things open up, maybe, rentals will be easier, and it'll be easier to put on plays and things. I wanted to jump into neighborhood stories, because it's about 2:34, but it sounds like a week from now, we're going to be experiencing something fantastic. I'm looking at the
local, because it's already been running, right?
No. So that's the thing. So I
thought the Mills Valley, No.
The Mill Valley one is about to open.
Oh,
so Neighborhood Stories is this, just to orient people, it's not a company exactly. It's just a project I'm doing during COVID. And it's designed to a couple of different things. As we mentioned at the beginning of this conversation, I'm sitting up on the top of this hill and I'm looking down and I'm going, I am connected to all of these people I can see, right? Like Yertle the turtle. I see all these people.
Right.
And they don't know they're connected, and everybody feels disconnected, and everybody's in their homes feeling alone, or they're working too hard and feeling like they're in danger, right?
Mm-hmm.
Until recently, and maybe they've luckily gotten their shots now, but still we're in danger. We don't know, right? If how to be together. And what is the job of art? It is not to entertain. It is to bring communities together, right? To examine, to illuminate what has happened to us in the past, what got us here, to really explore what is happening right now, and to look at what the possible futures are and how we step into them together. And so I was like, we need art right now. We need performing arts right now. This is what brings people together.
Yeah.
And people know that, but they're stuck on Netflix and, love my streaming stuff, but we're missing in-person connection. So how can we do live theater in a way that will be safe for everyone involved? And so I was like, all right, you know what? We can all perform on our own. I'm not going to give myself COVID. So if I'm performing by myself, I'm safe. If an audience comes and watches me behind the screen of their car, they're not going to catch anything from me, and I'm not going to catch anything from them. So I am doing 3, I'm calling them episodes. The first episode was this past fall in Oakland, and we had a bunch of performers at 8 different locations in Oakland, and we sent cars around. In that version, we were texting people things. I think we've got a smoother version now, a smoother sort of protocol on it now. But we only released the first location to the ticket buyers that day, the day of the show. They show up at the first location. They have no idea what they're going to see. We do have all the performers on the website, but I actually suggest you just go not knowing, because it's kind of more fun to just find this. And for the audience, it really operates like a city driving tour, right? So you've got this, you're going to go somewhere, but instead of us saying, oh, look, and over there on the left is Coit Tower, and over there on the right is Fisherman's Wharf. It's, over there on the left is a dancer. And then you're going to drive another, 3/4 of a mile, and over there on your right is going to be a musician or an actor. With the Oakland production, I really wanted to highlight the wide range of performers that Oakland contains, because Oakland has such a huge population of artists. I think higher than anywhere else in the Bay Area. So I wanted to have the widest variety of performance style that I could, and we had everybody from gamelan, Balinese music and dance, we had clowning, we had Buto inflected dance, we had modern dance, spoken word work, we had and we had a couple of monologues that were written for the place where they were going to be performed. Yolanda Smith wrote a piece for Troy Rocket that was particularly powerful, for this one little corner right by where Cleavon lives and right by where Troy used to live. And so they're this little corner that nobody would ever notice. You drive right past it, you would never ever notice it. Let's do something that's dedicated to that little spot. And so it provides work for actors or performers, not just actors. And it takes people around and points out that artists are interpreters of our time and place. And I hope, wherever your hometown is, everybody can walk through their hometown and go, oh, that's where the ice cream place used to be that I always went. And that's that's where the person I had my first crush on lived.
Yeah.
And that's where, I drunkenly fell down and embarrassed myself or whatever, right? We've all got these stories around our own neighborhoods, right? And so I thought, I want this experience to be something where if you are from that city, it will feel the experience will feel very much like you're re-seeing your city and going, right. That's why I lived here. And that's what it adds to your recollections of that city. And if you're not from that city, it makes you feel a little bit like a local, and it makes you feel invested emotionally in that place, and want to go back to it. So, maybe people don't usually go to Oakland, or they go to one little corner of Oakland for one store that they like, or maybe they go down to Jack London because they like Jack London, or something like that, but they maybe don't explore the wider city. And so this is a way to take people into some neighborhoods that they might know and some neighborhoods they might not. And then with the added benefit, I hope that now every time they drive past that spot, they think of art and they think of performers and they think, I have an investment in that spot because of that performer. And so I hope that it raises the value in the general public's mind about how important artists are, first of all, that we're not like movie stars and people at the Grammys. We are your neighbors. We're working class people who live in every neighborhood around the Bay Area, that we're valuable members because we really bring something to that community, but that we're also vulnerable members, that we are the first ones to be unemployed. We're the first ones to go hungry. And so we need to be supported. So I'm hoping that kind of all of that comes through in these little tiny snippets that they see.
No, it sounds very, really cool, and it's a way for the neighborhood to give back to the the theater community, but also the artists. I mean, I'm looking at the website right now. You have singers, you have and dancers, you have actors, and it gives us artists a chance to say, oh wow, even with COVID, I can actually still perform and give something back to the community, and let those who live in the community know, oh wow, there's something more than the local store, the local movie theater that I go to. I'm getting some sort of entertainment. I'm getting connection to my community from my neighbor. I didn't know that my neighbor sang. I didn't know that my neighbor can act or dance or something like that. And it's really, really cool. I mean, I remember, like going into the office and all of a sudden, one of my coworkers was like, oh, wow, you wrote a play. I had no idea. Right. And then they'll open up. They'll like, I played the saxophone. And it's a way to, to connect to neighborhoods. So I'm excited. Neighborhood Story sounds awesome. How did you find all of these people?
Oh, wide range of ways. I mean, with Oakland, it was a lot of people that I knew, and then I asked them to recommend other people. So I started with people that I knew. And the third episode is in El Cerrito, and that is also started with a bunch of people that I knew. That will be starting in mid-May. With the Mill Valley one, it happened a little bit differently in that somebody who came to see the Oakland show was a Mill Valley resident and called me up and said, hey, I really liked that. I would really like one to happen in Mill Valley. Can that happen? And I said, yeah, absolutely. And so the first person that I called was Denmo Ibrahim, who one of my
I've worked with Denmo.
Performers. And not just performer, but she's a truly creative, like she is a creative, in a big C creative. And I had already put something on the Neighborhood Stories website in the months that we weren't doing something live. I was putting up interactive art prompts, and I put up her. She's got a downloadable guided walk called "You Are Not Alone" that I put up there and said, and it, directly pays her. So I think it might still be up if people go to Play From Home on the Neighborhood Stories website. Oh, which is neighborhood-stories.com.
.com. Yeah, and we'll have a link. People can hit the link.
If you go to Play at Home or Play From Home, I think I might have her walk still up there. It's fantastic, and it's a pay what you can starting at $10, and just go download it. It's so great. All the money goes straight to her and her co-creators on it. And I just love the way that she looks at the world in a way that I feel is really compatible with the way that I do, which is, what is going on and how can we interact with the whole world, not just thinking about being on a stage. What is our environment? What is our time? How can we connect to people in a really, really personal sort of way? So I reached out to her, and she's doing another thing right now with Marin Theater Company. So she was not available, and I was like, no. So I was completely crushed and sort of stumped. And so I actually just went to the TBA website and started looking up what performers were actually lived in Mill Valley. So you were on the talent bank there, put your actual city in there. So I looked at that. I talked to anybody that I knew lived nearby and said, who do you recommend that lives in town? And then the Mill Valley resident who called me is co-producing with me, and he knew a bunch of bands. So I got the bands through him. And then the last person that I ended up with is an Indigenous storyteller. I was really, it felt weird to me to do the Oakland one without an Indigenous performer. And then when I was looking at Mill Valley, I was like, there's no way I'm doing this one without somebody representing, because this place is so much about the landscape, and sort of the legends about Mount Tamalpais are so huge in people's minds there that I just couldn't work something without her. So I just searched everything.
Is this Alicia Mary Rettis?
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm saying that name right.
Yeah, she's amazing. She's a storyteller who travels all around the area doing all sorts of education and performing, and she's a musician and just an incredible performer. And so I just reached out a bunch of places and said, does anybody have to recommend? And finally found her through the Mill Valley Library. I was like, there'll be a storyteller. I'm sure there's a storyteller. And they said, oh yeah, this is the person you want. You need her. And so she was the last person that I inked in on it. But it's a really good variety of people. If you go to the website, you will not see every performer every day. We have only 8 stops on the location, but you'll see most of those people every time.
And I'm sorry, so when people are doing this isn't just walking by, this is driving?
It's driving. So yeah, there is right now, because of COVID and because of, I think, so very reasonable union rules, there has to be that separation. So the performances are outdoors. Audiences do have to come in a car, and I'm sorry about that. But you can rent a car if you don't own one. And the tickets are not very expensive. So if you are, the ticket price is per car, not per person. So if you need to rent a car, brings your whole COVID posse in it, and it will end up being affordable. But yeah, so we give people the driving directions to the sites one at a time. Yeah.
Cool.
You just start popping upon a performer.
And we'll have that link. It's Saturdays and Sundays, April 17th. That's next week until May the 9th. Yeah. It's opening weekend is sold out. It starts between 2 and 3:45. So I guess people will find out when it starts when they buy their ticket.
Yeah. So in other words, you can choose what time you start if there's a ticket available for that time slot. So everybody sees the performers in the same order. So again, that's part of my directing is I'm putting this in an order that I think makes sense for you. And the first 3 cars, it's a very, very limited, we only sell 24 tickets a day. And so you'll be with just 2 other cars tops. So you're getting this little mini command performance, and you get to the first site, you see a little short performance, they send you on your way to the next site, you drive to the next site, all 3 of you, the 3 cars caravan together and become, caravan buddies. And
right on.
Yeah, it's really fun.
No, it's cool.
what we added for Mill Valley is we're adding some historical context into the show. In between, we've got a playlist that people can listen to on their drive to the next spot. So Oakland, the complaint I had about the Oakland one was that it was sort of, I see a show and then I'm on my own driving, and then I see a show and I'm on my own driving. So I'm filling that space this time.
Very,
Oh.
very, very nice. Yeah.
How are you filling the space?
So my wonderful, wonderful sound designer, Michael Kelly, who you probably know, is creating these little, a playlist for the whole show. And so I have narration. Some of it is, some of it's just thoughts about where we are in time. Some of it is little bits of history about the place that they're driving to or that they've just come from. Just contextual things, little music snippets from musicians that have lived in Mill Valley, things like that.
So people can listen and while they drive to the next destination. It's very, very cool. I mean, everything is really thought out. So neighborhood stories, and that'll be cool. And we'll, like I said, we'll have that. My screen isn't popping up. Oh well, I'm not worried.
People should come on over. And if Mill Valley is too far for you for some reason, like I said, we're going to have an El Cerrito one in mid-May. We'll be opening, so I'll start publicizing that one pretty soon too. I just need to get this one open first.
Oh, I think I'm getting it. So from April to May, we have this is Marin. Mill Valley.
So April 17th to May 9th is Mill Valley, and then El Cerrito will open up on the May 15th.
Got it. Very, very cool. And, although you let us know, you have our email, so you can let us know so we can advertise it. Fantastic. And I want to be respectful of people's time. Shout outs, birthdays.
And it's so funny. I tried to grab birthdays from before since we've been off for a couple of weeks. But I didn't get that many. So I've got William Oliver III, who is one of the members of the Oakland Theater Project. And he was just in the show that they just did. What was it called? Binding Ties. He was the only live performer. His birthday is today. Greg Ayers I met him as a young man. If you think of Pierce Brosnan, who had a TV show and then was James Bond for a minute. Greg looks a little bit like him, but I met him when he was a young man, and we actually hired him as a teen. He wasn't a teen; he played a teen.
I remember
his birthday is today.
Steele. You have to be a certain age to remember Remington Steele.
Remington Steele, right? Rebecca Patterson, who I hope we will get on at some point. Her birthday is coming up this week. She's a director I met. We were students at San Francisco State University, and she now runs a women's Shakespeare company in, I'm not sure if it's New York or Canada. I know it's on the East Coast.
I think she's in New York, or at least it used to be in New York.
Queens?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, that's hers. Then personal, Cindy Robertson is my new sister-in-law. They've only been married a couple of years, but she and my brother actually, at least my brother lost his virginity to her when they were in high school and then had whole lives and then came back together. So I think it's kind of beautiful.
It's nothing like your first love. Go ahead.
I think you may have this one, so I'm going to skip it for now. James Good, theater tech guy, and Anne Hallinan is this amazing actress who's been working in Bay Area theater forever. And I remember thinking, God, she's getting kind of old. But I saw her in The Seagull a few years ago, and she was so fun. I was like, you can get old and still be an amazing performer. So those are the ones.
Women's Will.
What's that? And she worked with Women's Will. See?
Small World. Is that it for you?
That was, oh, wait. I think that was it. Yeah. I was really shocked.
My
People apparently do not have much sex 9 months before now.
Well, here is my list. Xiaotian Kai. He and I were on the stage. We were at the Douglas Morrison Theater. We did 110 in the Shade. And I did a wonderful interview with him. There's been a lot of anti-Asian violence going on. And he and I, this is before all of this happened, before COVID-19. But he is actually I think he is, so, he was an actor. And now he is sort of I want to say a producer. He's trying to encourage, I think he has an agency to helping Asian American actors get on stage, and he's doing it in New York. And he and I had a wonderful interview on my other podcast, I'm an American too, which I'm trying to bring back up. And you
Yay!
talked a lot about what it is being an Asian coming to America and everything that you have to go through. Just immigration and all that sort of stuff. But it was wonderful. So I may put a link to that. In any case, his birthday is today. He's 29 years old. Happy birthday, Xiao Tian. Also, 40, Fortunato Yabat. He is a wonderful Philippine actor, and he was in my play. I wrote a little play called Nia. We're also in Godspell a couple of years back. Happy birthday, 40. He and his wife just had a baby a couple of months ago.
Yay!
So his family's expanding. So that's fantastic. My sister Sean, her birthday is on April the 12th. And you mentioned is it your cousin's first love? Your cousin just got married?
No, my brother.
I'm sorry, your brother.
I have a brother who
yeah,
got married again in his 50s. I'm like, holy cow.
Yeah,
good
yeah,
luck.
he married his first love.
I mean, I got married in my 50s. What the hell?
Sure. I guess it's my turn next. My first love, Yolanda Smith, her birthday is on the 11th.
Yay!
Happy birthday to her. She and I graduated from Duke Ellington School of the Arts. She's a wonderful singer. Ann Kuchins. I haven't seen her on stage in such a long time, but she was in Summer Shorts, Cross Wires. That was
EastEnders?
No. Prior to EastEnders, this was Mike Ward. This was a Mike Ward thing before Mike Ward passed away. In any case, her birthday is on the 15th. And I think I have one last one. Paulo Salazar, another ex-Bindle Stiffer. He is an artist. He is actually he calls himself a physical artist. We're going to have him as a guest, not the next guest, but the guest after next.
Oh, nice.
And Norman, you may remember the picture that I have, the portrait that I have in my living room.
Yes.
Of the guy with the pool stick.
Yes.
He painted that. I bought that from him. So it was my way
That's
of
pretty cool.
investing in an artist. And so his birthday is on the 15th.
Nice.
And we'll have him on as a guest because he has a couple of things going on. And that is my list.
I thought you'd get Melissa Hillman. Melissa Hillman's birthday is coming up this week.
Oh, you know what? I have her, but I forget where did I work with her?
I don't know that you worked with her, but I thought we had her on.
Oh,
maybe. I thought we did.
No.
If we haven't, we need to. Melissa is amazing. And she was the artistic director of Impact Theater for many years. She's been doing all kinds of other things. In fact, she has I should have that information. Play Cafe I'm going to be doing a thing for Play Cafe in June. Melissa is doing one this month, talking to playwrights. Let me see if I can pull that up. Go ahead. Talk amongst yourselves.
Well, I've got 3 shows. Well, obviously, we're going to Neighborhood Stories. So of course, we will promote that beginning April 17th and May the 9th. And we'll have a link to that so that you can buy your ticket and get out and see Marin and see these wonderful performances. But also, Same Boat Theater, Lisa Kong has been promoting Terremoto Earthquake, Environmental Justice Festival. Poems, plays, music in English, Portuguese, and Spanish. It begins this weekend. And I have the link there. Also, streaming will be The Bluest Eye. We've talked about The Bluest Eye already. Aurora Theater Company. Michael Ashbury is in it. Don Monique Williams has directed it.
Yep.
And it is streaming until May the 21st. And the last thing that I have, 6 Things God Hates by theawesometheater.org, a podcast audio theater telling 6 original stories, new stories on the 2nd and the 4th Tuesday of every month. And the first one is One Who Sows Discord Among Brethren.
Excuse me.
Bless you. Directed by Janae Simon, a very good friend of ours.
Oh, yay.
And
No, she's amazing.
I've been dying to get her on. I don't know. There's part of it that's a bit shy. She and I, we were on stage. She was Elizabeth Keckley in Civil War Christmas, and so she's a director. And so those are the things that I'm promoting.
I have Melissa's, it's actually next month. So it's the middle of next month. We can talk about it again in the future, but it's a workshop called Jedi Dramaturgy. Jedi stands for Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion.
Nice.
Right up her alley.
That it?
That was it.
Right on.
I'm boring this week.
Yeah. So I figured Playground. I'm always thinking Playground is doing something.
Playground is getting ready but again, that won't be until May. Best of Playground. I will be directing one for that, and I will talk about that when that comes out.
Very cool. Erin, I hope you had a wonderful time.
I did. It was so nice hanging out with you guys. So soon in person, I hope.
Yeah, exactly. I've been trying to, hopefully our next guest, for those who are listening and you may be getting an email or an IM message saying, hey, do you want to be a guest on the Yay? We would love to have people come back into my living room. I know people are a little sketchy and they're like, well, with COVID, I don't know. So of course we'll keep on doing things via Zoom, but it would be nice to have a one-on-one conversation face to face with folks. So I'm hoping we'll get back to doing that. But in any case, if you're listening to us, if you're watching us on Facebook, I'm sorry, not Facebook, on YouTube, then please like and subscribe. Yeah, exactly. Like, subscribe, give us a thumbs up, tell us what you like, tell us what you don't like, and we will act accordingly. And also let us know what subject matters you want us to talk about. I've been pouring Facebook to getting all sorts of subject matters, and that'll be a sort of a segment that we'll have. If you're listening to us traditionally on podcasts, we're on any podcast app that you listen to. We're on Spotify. We're on the that purple podcast app if you have an iPhone or an iPad. If you're a Android user, you can use the SoundCloud app or just go on soundcloud.com and you'll find us. The A was created by theater people for theater people. If you have a show you want to advertise, or if you just want to advertise yourself, let us know. Hit us up on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I'm at Red Space Clay.
And I'm at Who's Your Hoosier.
Do you use social media, Erin? Is there a place where people can reach you?
I do. Yeah. Well, oh man, sorry. I'm so unprepared. People can find me on my website. That's probably the easiest thing is erinmerritt.com. It's ErinMerritt. Got to have both R's and both T's.com. It's probably the easiest way to find me, but I'm also on Facebook and Instagram. I think I'm Real Erin Merritt on Instagram and Twitter. And I have no idea what my Facebook one is. It's Erin Merritt 10 or something. Actually, hold on, I'll look that up.
Okay. And also you got to friend me so that I can link you.
Yes, I do. Okay, I will go do that right now.
Yeah. But in any case, yeah, if you're looking for a fantastic director and really just a great organizer, I mean, you've done neighborhood stories and you've done Women's Will. And obviously, you're someone who really, really cares about the neighborhood and also using theater to bring people together, not just to entertain, but to bond people together. So any producers and owners of theaters, if you're looking for a creative, a director, a producer, Erin Merritt, you can't go wrong with her.
Thank you.
That's it.
It's Erin.Merritt.10.
Erin.Merritt.10? What's
Erin.Merritt.
Yeah, Erin.Merritt. This is on Facebook. Erin.Merritt.10.
Got it. Okay. So we've got that down. And of course, we'll have that all on the show notes that we'll have. Great. Thank you so much. It's a wonderful, wonderful Saturday. So I'm going to get out and get something to eat. Thank you so much. And as Norman and I always say,
we gotta find a better sign off.
And we are out.